hold up here. How come you're sitting way over there? Like, get into the picture here.
It's cold over it.
Okay. So we're on there now. See if I can get it up here, because in here we can see the messages. It's picking it up on here.
Why should we watch it on the big screen?
Well, you're gonna see the comments down the side. Yeah,
Oh.
Well,
Oh.
because at one point, won't be able to carry these around with us. Oh, here, people. Hi, Yeti. Hi, Anita. Hi, Kathy. Yeah, I'm just trying to hook up our TV set here to see if I can see your comments. Can you hear us okay? Because we've got a totally different setup today. There we are. Oh, wait.
We went to history.
Well, yeah, but I don't know why it's showing up there. I guess. Okay, but I guess that's not going to show us the
No, it's
thing,
not
so
gonna show you
can't do
the
that.
No.
Okay, never
Because
mind.
the Apple TV doesn't do that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay, well, screw that idea. Anyways, okay, so Yeti's here, Anita's here, Kathy's here. Sound is okay, Jetty says. Great. Virginia's here. Thanks, Virginia. And Merry Christmas to everybody here, and thank you for the happy anniversary. We'll just give it a couple of seconds here. And we'll see who else is going to join us. And as you can see, we're in a totally different location today. Today we are in our rec room, and behind me is our tree. And actually, if this works out okay, this might be a better setting than in our kitchen every week, but I don't know, we'll see about that. Yeah, so anyways, we are drinking, are you having some champagne?
Yeah, sure. If I can get it.
As it was our anniversary yesterday. Happy anniversary. Okay, just guzzle it right down. Jeez. Whatever. That's what after 36 years, yeah. So yeah, we're drinking champagne and Jody's here. Jody here. I need a stiff drink and some entertainment. Flew from Colorado to Indiana a week ago to care for an 85-year-old relative being discharged from the hospital. She's driving me a bit wacko. Welcome to the Wacko Club. I know. I just tried to phone my mother as I usually do, and once again she didn't answer. So you want to talk about wackos? That's my mother. So anyway, I suppose we can get started here. We are not having any hors d'oeuvre things because I didn't think of anything for hors d'oeuvre.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'm still stuffed from dinner last night. Oh, Chris is here. Hi, Chris.
We ate it off last night.
Yeah, we did. So let's talk about what we're going to plan today. And I don't know how this is going to work because it's a totally different setup. And we do not have that elaborate equipment. We video this on our iPhones on a tripod. And the microphone right now is attached to that tripod as well, which usually it's not. Usually it's sitting in front of us on the table. But because I do intend to walk you through our house today, and that's the part that might go awry, so bear with us, I need to have the microphone in a place where it can pick up stuff because the microphone in the iPhone is not that great for this kind of thing, I found. Oh, Ilona Brown is here. Have not seen you in a while, and welcome. Yeah, we're comfy. So as I said, this is our rec room. We redid the whole room about, how many years ago now was that? 7, 8, oh, more than 7, because we did it before I retired.
Before you retired, yeah.
So it's probably almost 10 years
Yeah.
ago. And we had we'll show you a little bit more of this in a few minutes, but we do have a built-in gas fireplace down here. It's just off screen, so it's nice and comfy and warm. And this is where we have our television set and
Big television.
Our big television, which all of that I will reveal to you shortly. You can see our Christmas tree in behind. We just have a little one. It sits on our bistro table. We do have a really big Christmas tree that's pre-lit and all that kind of stuff, but I just haven't put it up in the last few years because I haven't felt the need.
In a box out in the garage.
Yeah, it's in the box out in the garage. In fact, we're going to give it away. Or we were
Well,
going.
I was trying to give it away to my sister and her kids, but they don't want it either, so.
Mm.
I think I'll probably end up with taking it to Value Village.
Yeah,
I was gonna do
probably.
it before Christmas, but, never happened.
I used to take it out every year, and I'd spend like half a day decorating it. And last few years I was going designer on it, trying to be like Christopher Allen or people like that. But we really don't have a place to put it anymore because some of our furniture's gotten rearranged since the last time we had it up. And yeah, I suppose I could find a spot, but I like the little one on the bistro table that was like about $35 from Walmart. It's easy to decorate, easy to put up, easy to take down, and I'm all about easy at Christmas. Bonnie's here. Hi, Bonnie. Audrey's here. Hi, Audrey. Um, Kathy says, so happy for your 36 years together. Yeah, we're going to talk about those happy 36 years. Yeah, they haven't always been, but, well, not really. They've been good. Chris says her internet's cutting in and out this morning. I might have to watch this back later on. Yeah, and you all look great from the couch. You should do more lives from here. Well, I was saying that to Walter. Maybe we will. I don't know. We should mix it up a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anita says she likes her tree. I put out our tree up, and Oliver Cat won't leave it alone. Yeah, when we had Cleo and we had the big tree, the first few years she was very fascinated, of course, by the ornaments, and we used to have some glass ornaments. Well, those soon got changed into plastic ones because she liked to knock those off. She never tried to climb the tree, but she was never a climber.
No, she wasn't.
She was a strange little cat. But she did like to nestle down right underneath it. And we used to put the tree upstairs in our living room, which you will see. It has a fireplace up there as well. We always called that Kitty's fireplace because we turned that on and she'd run right over and flop herself down on the hearth in front of it. And she wouldn't leave. And you'd go to pet her and you needed oven gloves. That's how hot it was. I don't know how that cat did that. But she was cute. She'd sit under the tree.
No, I wonder if her climbing the tree she had long hair. It was her dragon to the bristles or whatever.
Well, maybe. Of course, she was a princess. She probably went, yeah, it's a tree. I'll just sit here on the arm of the couch next to it and bat the toys off.
Yeah, she wouldn't. Well, she wasn't a jumper either.
No.
So.
Chris says, I have no sound at all. Can you guys do sign language? The wind blew in Chicago. Okay, Chris. Sorry that you can't. Your connection's not very good. You have a good Christmas too. Alona says, Stephen, thanks for the YouTube tip of last Homely House. I really interesting. Yeah, I watch it all the time. I find her fascinating. She's a little quirky, but she's somebody you'd like to go and have tea with, I think. She just is an interesting person. I really like her stuff. Okay, so anyways, let's back up a bit before we go on the house tour and talk about our anniversary and that. Talk about my mother. We had Christmas Eve at the home. Well, no, Christmas event.
That wasn't Eve because it is Christmas.
No,
Eve.
that's right. It's not Christmas Eve yet. I mean, well, bah humbug. On Thursday night, they had a little gathering for all the residents and their families, and they had little hors d'oeuvre things. Actually, the food was pretty good that they had. Had a few strange things on there. We're still not sure what we ate, but
yeah.
But I don't know if Walter said he didn't know whether or not this was special food because he had outside guests or what. Because my mother always complains about the food,
and the food was really good.
And I thought the food was really good, and I don't think it was anything different from what they usually have, except that it was in hors d'oeuvre form. But I thought it was pretty good. Had some guy playing a guitar with a what we used to call, I don't know what they call them now, but we used to call it a band box. You have a speaker system that plays the background soundtrack to the songs that you're singing to or whatever, sort of like karaoke, except with a lot of instruments and that. We used to call it a band box. So anyways, he had one of those. Didn't know a lot of Christmas songs, though. He even played Bruno Mars.
Yeah, which was kind of weird. But actually, maybe it was okay.
I guess.
They didn't really care.
Some of the kitchen help were really getting into it, though. They were just bouncing all over the place. It's all fun and games until someone breaks a hip. But, my sister went. My brother-in-law went. My niece, she was working, so she couldn't go. Lucky girl. and we were there. So yeah, well, I think my mother had a good enough time with it, and that's all it's about, anyways. So come Tuesday night, we'll go over before we go to my sister's on Christmas Eve. We're going to my sister's for Christmas Eve, and traditionally in my family, we don't usually have like Christmas on Christmas Eve. Your family used to, didn't they? Only because your people want to sleep in all day.
Well, no, supper was always on Christmas Day.
Oh,
We opened presents on Christmas Eve.
oh, see, no. But how could you do that? Santa doesn't come until late Christmas Eve. You have to be in bed asleep. Your little
I
eyes
came early
shut.
to our place. We're
You're,
special.
well, Dutch. Always a little special on that one. But anyways, we're going to my sister's for.
It was spoiled for me early in life when my sister had older sisters, and the one got married when I was 8. So, by that point in time, Christmas had been spoiled for me. I think the last time I opened Christmas presents in a morning at our place was when I was a kid. Was when I was about 6.
Yeah.
And Margaret got married when I was 8. So by that point in time, she decided we had to open presents on Christmas Eve.
No. Well, I saw Laura on here. Hi, Laura. Haven't seen you in a while. And Merry Christmas to you too. Yeah. Well, we didn't used to do. Well, when we were little kids, Christmas Eve was, go to bed, put out the carrot for Rudolph, put out the cookies and the milk. As we got older, the milk turned to beer.
Yeah,
for
well, no,
Santa.
but you were the oldest.
Mhm.
I was the youngest.
I didn't figure out there wasn't a Santa Claus until I was 10.
Yeah, well, see, but
No, there really is a Santa, Virginia. Had to be said. Sherry or Anita says we're going to Christmas Eve service, then stopping in at friend's house, sleeping in on Christmas Day. Yeah, we used to go to church on Christmas Eve too, especially in the years when I sang in the choir, so that was a big to do. And then we'd always go off to my parents' best friends, or my parents always had a Christmas Eve sort of gathering of the neighbors and people and whatnot. Used to have quite a few people at it. It was
pretty busy.
it was a pretty event. My mother spent a long time getting stuff ready for that and whatnot. I always look forward to that. That was kind of fun. And my brother and the sister and the kids were all tiny at that time too. And then their in-laws would come and the neighbors. It was actually a lot of people. And considering that my parents' rec room was not very big, well,
it was
about the size of this one, I suppose.
maybe
Maybe not.
long and skinny.
Yeah, it was long and skinny. Well,
But
whatever.
Actually, no, probably it was smaller because we're used to it's big square here.
Yeah, true. But anyways, that was always a lot of fun. And then when I lived at home as a kid, of course, it would start 5 o'clock in the morning. Is it time to get up yet? Nothing. Can we get up yet? The rule in our family was you did not get up and go down to the tree until my parents had gotten up and my father went down and turned the Christmas tree lights on. And he would do that, and every year he'd say the same thing. He'd come upstairs from the rec room and go, might as well go back to bed. Santa didn't bother to come. There's nothing down there. Of course, we knew he was lying. And we go ripping down, and it was like a toy store display. My parents always used to get fairly elaborate at Christmas time. As far as like laying everything out, it was all in a display format. Yeah, as we got older, of course, and once I moved away from home and my brother and sister were in university and whatnot, it, no more Santa kind of a thing. And I remember, funny thing was, my sister being the youngest, 8 years, and as time went by too, we kept every 10 minutes, can we get up yet? No, go back to sleep. It's too early. So then, and I don't want to hear another word out of you kids, or you're not getting up at all. And so we get my sister to do it. I'd get my brother to do it. He's 4 years younger than me. Then he got wise to that as the years went by. So we get my sister to do it instead. And of course, she was spoiled rotten because she was the only girl and the baby. So she could get away with murder. But yeah, I miss those days. They were a lot of fun. And then when I moved away from home and that, I remember my sister, she was still living at home at the time, but she was going to university. She calls me up. Are you coming over or what? Because we can't go down and open up presents until you get here. And I figured, well, I'm not going over at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I said, yeah, I'll be there eventually. But anyways, yeah, those were fun days, fun memories of it all. Let's see who's here. Anita's. They're going to Christmas Eve service. Then stop. Okay. And Virginia said, "What? No Santa?" Yes, Virginia. There is a Santa.
Actually, I think my parents agreed to opening Christmas Eve presents because
Hi, Andy.
they were Nighthawks and they liked to sleep in.
Yeah, and then my mother would do brekkie, and when we were kids, of course, and she'd sometimes do something a little special, like she'd make pancakes or something, which was a rarity in our household when we got pancakes. I wanted pancakes all the time, but they used to be my favorite food as a kid. Pancakes and spinach, not together, although that would be called a crepe. So it can be done. So, anyways, yeah, how traditions have changed. So this year we do have gifts under the tree. I don't know.
Considering we weren't supposed to buy each other gifts. But
I know, but I said, remember there was one year or something. It just seems anticlimactic.
last year we didn't.
Yeah, just anticlimactic.
Yeah, well, then, that's when I bought you the slippers, and then you said, "Oh, whatever you do, don't buy me slippers." So I hid them.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah. Virginia says we would have hot cocoa from scratch for breakfast, and Nita says no snow predicted here in Ohio for Christmas. We have snow here, but not a lot.
Actually, it's over zero today, so it's
Melting. And
So-
and of course we live in the north end of Oshawa, the city we're in. So we can have snow up here, and you get to the central part of Oshawa or South Oshawa, and because of the effect of the lake, because we're on Lake Ontario, they might not have any snow at all. So it varies within our own city.
when I say it's over zero Celsius.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure what that means in Fahrenheit, but it's over 32 in Fahrenheit. So
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, Christmas is time for all kinds of traditions. Bonnie says we were green here in New Brunswick until 2 hours ago. Now we have a centimeter, so the ground is white. I'm happy about that. Yeah, there's something about for us in the northern hemisphere kind of a thing. There's something about snow on Christmas Day that you want it, but then Boxing Day comes, you want it to be gone again. I always thought it's nice. You wake up Christmas morning, a light drifting of snow is very pretty, and hopefully by the next day it's gone and it's like Florida. 58 degrees Fahrenheit, Virginia says, predicted for Cincinnati on Wednesday. Yeah, so.
yeah, well, I think it's supposed to actually rain on Christmas Day.
Oh, that is one thing I hate is rain on Christmas Day. Actually, I hate rain in December or January.
Yeah, because what happens up here is that it's in the wintertime it tends not to be super sunny. It tends to you have a lot of drab gray days, and then you get a rain day, which is even worse. It's cold and
And yesterday was the shortest day of the year. It was the winter solstice yesterday, which is also when our anniversary is. And that we'll talk more about that in a minute. But just a couple of other business items. So I talked about my mother. Yeah, she's alive. Okay. Oh yeah, we put together some goodie bags for the girls, the ladies at Ultimate Sewing, and went down 2 days ago and delivered those all to them. They're being worked to death because they were open today and they're open tomorrow.
They're not normally open on Sundays
or Mondays. So the girls are working right up.
The boss is trying to milk every penny.
I guess. Like I don't know how many last minute shoppers will come and go, quick, I need a sewing machine.
Well, they might get a lot of guys in buying gift certificates
maybe.
for their wives.
Or whatever. But anyway, so we took them down some chocolate. And the way to a lady's heart is through chocolate all the time. So anyways, and what else? Oh yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about our anniversary. It was last night. Now, we technically have 2 anniversaries. Gay people do. Okay? We are legally married to each other. Got a ring right here on her finger. Where's your ring?
Yeah, I found it today.
Oh, good for you.
I have a tendency of misplacing it. So.
Yeah. Take him out to a bar and he's not wearing his ring. Oops.
And then I go into panic mode when I can't find it because he'll kill me if I.
Yeah, well, anyways, we got married. Come this July coming, we got married legally 15 years ago. So we've been married for 15 years, but we've been together for 36 years. And that is really our official anniversary is marked from that date. And December 21st, actually,
We
kind
were we were never really sure exactly.
we weren't exactly sure that we knew it was in December. But we decided to settle on December the 21st because it was the shortest day of the year, it's the winter solstice, and it was close to Christmas. But we met pretty close to the 21st of December. It might have been a few days off. But see, in the LGBT community back then, we never ever thought we'd ever be able to get married. It wasn't on. It wasn't.
No, we figured that it would that would be an impossible situation.
Well, we didn't even think about it because it wasn't something that was on our, you know, in our sight for it. We never even talked about it because it was just a given fact that that was never going to happen. Well, never say never. So what people do in the gay community, lesbian community, is they often have an anniversary, but they mark it from a significant date in their relationship. And ours was when we basically met. So, and we have been together for 36 years. Now, we haven't lived together for 36 years. First
No,
4 years. First
Yeah.
4 years of our relationship, we had our own places. I had an apartment, he had a semi. We did sort of, well, we saw each other all the time because we didn't live that far apart from each other. But I was in.
So we've been living together for about 32 years.
Yeah, technically living together for 32 years. But we didn't want to do the let's move in real quick kind of thing because, well, we're men. And men tend to be, well, I don't know if this sounds sexist or not, but men tend to be more loners, more independent, I think.
Well, actually, it was a little bit more of that than that for us because I owned a house and he lived in an apartment, and
He didn't want me to take him for a ride.
Yeah, so so one thing would be he could have moved into my house, or but I mean I obviously aren't going to move into his apartment.
Well, no.
in a house, right? Because I had a house.
Mind you, my apartment wasn't that much smaller than your house.
And
but-
his apartment was 2 blocks from his work, and my house was.
Well, you were working in Toronto.
I
at
was
the
working
time.
in Toronto, but it was a house. So if he moved into my house, he would have to travel across town to get to work. type
And
of
we
thing.
did try that.
But
And it just didn't work.
The thing is that it was we did sort of live together on weekends type
Yeah.
of thing, but on week during the week when we were working, we just lived in our own places. So
Yeah, we did try, but the problem was I had to have the appropriate clothing with me to go to school the next day. And as Walter already said, I lived 2 blocks walking distance to my school at the time that I was working at from my apartment. And to take in those days, I had to wear a jacket and tie because that was the dress code for teachers, and it was just too much of a hassle for it. So we lived together on weekends. Usually, we'd be at his place Friday night, but Saturday night it'd be my place because I was going to church in those days, good Presbyterian boy, and singing in the choir.
and I would sleep in.
There's a joke in there somewhere about singing in the choir. I don't know. And I'd go to church and I'd come back from church and he was still in bed. So it took us 4 years. Also, there was other considerations. Like he had a mortgage for one thing. I was paying rent.
I mean, and then when we did move in together, we bought a house together. So,
Yeah.
and then there was that whole thing about I had to sell my house, and then there was I had a brief concern about the fact that I was putting more money into that.
And yeah, and also at those days it was a certain amount of financial insecurity. You know, you don't know.
You don't know. You're moving in with somebody else, and you think you're in love or whatever. And at the time,
Wow, were we in love?
I don't know.
I don't think so. You were just an amusing waste of time.
And then, so you're making a big step, and I mean everybody probably has that. Maybe a little less so, I think, in the straight community, maybe. Because we knew in the gay
Yeah.
community that relationships just usually didn't last.
Yeah, when someone says they're celebrating 2, you know it's 2 weeks. Because the 3rd week it may be over with.
Like somebody said to us when we moved in together, I said that I put more money into the house than.
You always bring that up, don't
No,
you?
no, no. I know. That was Dave.
Well, don't say his last name.
Yeah, Dave. Remember Neil and Dave?
Oh, yeah.
He said, "Well, how could you not take out like a prenup or something like that
Yeah.
to secure the extra finances that you put in?" And I said, "Well, if it goes south, then I just hope that he's honest and gives me the money. But anyway, it doesn't really matter." But if not, I was prepared to lose half.
Well,
of it,
I
so.
wasn't going to take him for a ride. Actually, from my point of view, I was a little uncomfortable with the whole idea because I felt this is his property. I'm moving into if we were going to move into his place, it wouldn't be my place. It was his place. And knowing what I know of Walter now after 36 years, he would have brought that up to me on a regular basis. You know, I was thinking we could redecorate it's my place. Why don't we paint it this? It's my place. Why don't you? It's my place. So no. So the best thing for us was, we bought a house. Our first house wasn't this house. Our first house, and we sold his place, and actually we were able to afford the other house because made some money on the sale of his place. But we always had an unwritten agreement was if we should ever separate, if we sold our other house, then he would get X amount of dollars from the sale of that. And I would have honored that. I wasn't going to take him for a ride then. Now, totally different ballgame.
Well, now it doesn't.
Now it doesn't matter because
no.
now we're legally wed.
Yeah, now it's
And we have wills and we have all kinds of things, yeah. So anyways, but yeah, those were interesting days. And then when we moved into the first house, at that point, we had not come out, even at that point. We were 30 when we bought the first house together. And our families did not know that we were gay. The people
I know my parents were upset that I had moved in with them because I mean, obviously, I went from a house that I owned on my own to a house that I owned with him.
Yeah, your father was particularly PO'd about that. His father was a scary man. He's dead.
But they didn't, and even after I came out to my mother, she didn't seem to think that my relationship was the same as like a male-female relationship.
But it's not.
No, it's not. But I meant like that it wasn't a valid relationship.
Yeah, well, that was then. That was the 80s, so that was the way things were. And I'm sure there's lots of people that still feel that today who don't know people that are gay or, or whatever. So I get it. We get it. Doesn't mean
Well, actually, you know what it really boiled down to, and that's what I kind of figured out with my parents is your parents always want the best for you, right?
Yeah.
They always want you to be secure and everything else, and they don't want people to take advantage of you and stuff like that. So they don't really know what my actual relationship was with Steve. So they were just trying to do what comes naturally to them and just...
They were just being protective of their baby. My parents weren't. But, no, so anyways, we got that house. We had a lot of problems with that house because
it was built in 1987, and at the time there was a lot of shortages for building materials because there were a lot of houses being built.
Yeah.
And so our house was actually delayed by about 6 months, or 4 months or something. And it just worked out good in some ways because I had delayed selling my house, my old house.
And I didn't have to get out of my apartment because my brother was going to take over my apartment. So that was easy.
So I delayed selling my house and actually got a little bit more money out of it and stuff like that. But in the meantime, out of desperation, the builder started throwing in things that or changing the design. It was built rather sloppily, put it that way.
Yeah, very sloppily. Every time it rained, every window in our house leaked. like crazy. And we were in that house for 8 years.
Was it eight?
Well, we moved into this house in '95, and we moved into that house in
87.
'87. So that's
8
8
years,
years.
yeah,
Yeah, we were
8
there
years,
for
yeah.
8 years. And he came home one day. We knew a couple of guys that we had met and were socializing with, and they were very house proud people to the point of being obnoxious. They had a newer home than we had because they had just been built, and we'd already been in our house for almost 8 years at that point. And it was in a more well, they thought it was a more posh area. We lived in Whitby at the time, which is a town right next door to where we live now. And yeah, they were always a couple very snide, like
They were a little bit
comments.
competitive.
They were competitive. They were a little younger than us, so whatever. And we were getting a little tired. Well, we knew we were going to have to sink a lot of money into this house after 8 years if we were going to stay there. We didn't have a finished rec room. It was a 2-story.
Well,
Yeah.
3-story if you included the basement.
Yeah, because the basement was a walkout. The neighborhood was okay.
But it was beginning to go downhill
Yeah.
because there were a lot of people renting their houses out. And mind you, I drove through there the other week, and it
Yeah,
still
you
looks
said.
pretty much the same.
Oh,
But,
well, I don't know if that's saying anything good or bad about it, really.
yeah.
It wasn't a bad. Well, we were there. It wasn't a bad neighborhood or anything like that. I think the neighbors on one side of us had a problem with the fact that we were gay because they wouldn't speak to us at all.
Yeah.
But they were just kind of weird, anyways.
The day was a couple of days after we moved in. I went out. The neighbor came out of his garage, and I said hi to him. And he ran back into his garage and closed the door. The funny thing was, is that he had no door from his house to the garage. So he was in his garage.
For a long time, I said to Walter, "We got to get the lawn chairs out, sit in his driveway, and if he peeks out, we go boo." Yeah, that was kind of weird. But we had a hot tub in the old house. We built a fairly elaborate deck system on the back of the house for the time period. We had like 3 levels. We used one.
Yeah.
Well, we were young. We were stupid. It was our first real. Well, it was my first real house. Now, kind of your first real house too, because do semis really count as a real house? I don't know.
It was semi-detached, so I had like a neighbor on one side that was joined to me. So
Yeah. But anyway, so we moved into that house. Actually, the day we took possession of the house, we walked in and we had a stalactite, or is it a stalagmite, hanging from the ceiling in the main hallway of the house. There was a slow leak of water somewhere, and it had
in the plumbing.
and it had taken the stuccoed ceiling, and it had basically put enough water into it. It all came down into a cone. It was the most bizarre looking thing you've ever seen in your life. I went, well, that's not good. We didn't order
Carpeting
that.
was wet downstairs.
Oh
too.
yeah, it was.
And it was just that was the first problem, and there were many other problems.
Many more. with it.
Many other problems. Like we had a problem where we went to use the tap outside, and it shot off the wall, and the tap, because it wasn't soldered on properly. And then we got the guy to come back to solder it on, and the idiot soldered it on upside down.
Yeah.
Like,
Can't get good help. And yeah, so 8 years down the road, we were thinking, okay, we actually at that point we thought we needed a new roof too.
yeah.
Which only 8 years in a brand new house, new
Yeah.
roof. We'd need all new windows because every one of them leaked like crazy. And there were umpteen other problems. So these guys that we were talking about before mentioned something about, oh, there's a new subdivision going up in North Oshawa. You might want to take a look.
Because I had always
Ha, ha,
talked
ha.
about the house that I lived in was a semi-detached, which was you had a neighbor on the other half of your house, right? Like it was 2 houses next to each other with a common wall, and it was like a bungalow. So you had a bedroom upstairs, and it was more 2 levels, right? And I had always wanted. I grew up in a bungalow, and you grew up in a bungalow.
Yeah.
And I
See-
always sort of aspired to having another bungalow.
And whereas I always aspired to have a 2-story house because I grew up in a bungalow, and that was what our first house was 2-story.
But after
I got
having
tired
the
of that.
2-story,
Real quick.
we had decided that I had enough of that. We'd like a bungalow.
Yeah.
So, this new subdivision, and bungalows, newer subdivisions didn't put bungalows in, they put in these great big huge 2 stories. So we saw this subdivision and they were happened to be building bungalows. And so I went in, I kind of liked the design of the house, and
Yeah.
um,
Well, okay.
okay, well,
Before you jump there, so we were over at their place one night for drinks. These guys, right? And they're going on. Oh yeah, and they were being very snide about it. This new subdivision or something. And actually, they had gone up and looked around at it, and they had a bunch of the floor plans for them. Well, I'm the kind of person I cannot visualize in 3D. When I see you show me layouts of a house and I look at it and I don't care that the measurements are on it, I don't know what that means. I have to physically see it. And Walter's much better at visualizing things in 3D from 2D. But so, anyways, we just, yeah, haha, funny, funny, funny. Well, one night he went up, unannounced to me, whatever, um, and checked this out. And he comes back and he's got like the official drawings and things that they give you when you go up sales, and he says, we should go up and take a look. And there was one model, I forget what they called it, Oxford? Was this the
yeah,
Oxford?
the Oxford, yeah.
Yeah, they called this model that we're in now called the Oxford. And I saw the elevation of it and whatnot, the pictures, the sketches and everything. I thought, well, it looks kind of nice. And I said, well, okay, let's go take a look. Now, at that point in time, I wasn't really that interested in moving to a house in Oshawa because I'm a Whitby boy. Not born and bred in Whitby, but pretty much, I moved to Whitby when I was 11 years old, and I went to school there, and I was teaching at that time. I was still was I still teaching? Yeah, no, I wasn't. Yes, I was. I was still teaching at my old high school, which was, I was not in my apartment anymore, but I was still within a couple of miles,
You were in
basically, of
Pickering
school.
then.
Was I in Pickering by then?
Yeah.
That we went when we went to Pine Ridge?
When we moved here, you were in Pickering.
Yeah, that's right. Eventually, yeah, that just had happened.
So it was
Whatever.
actually a fairly big commute for him. Like, it was easier from our old house
Yeah,
to commute to Pickering than it was to commute from here.
from here, because it's just the traffic things in those days. Went down, now it's even worse. But anyways, I said, so half reluctantly, I said, okay, let's go and look at them. They have some model homes. Well, then I saw the Oxford, because they had one up, and I looked at it and went, oh yeah, I really like this. And so then the gears started working, and I said, okay, let's seriously talk about this. And long story short, we sold the other house, we bought this house. This house they were constructing. This house was much better constructed than the first house, and of course we were a little wiser. And I think, what was it, Anita says, I heard someone say the other day that we get old too fast and smart too late. Yeah, exactly. We'd already been through one house, well, he would be his third house, so we knew what to look for this time, and we weren't afraid to go in and say things to people if things weren't right. Like, for example, we had them refinish our rec room. The basement in this house that we're sitting in right now, only one room, there are several rooms down here, only one room was finished. They called that the family room at the time. The rest of it was unfinished. Well, Walter talked about, well, he could redo it and the whole bit, but I knew it would be 100, well, put it this way, we would not be sitting down here today, 25 years later, in a finished rec room.
No.
Okay? No. So, all the best intentions, it would never have gotten done. So we decided to pay extra money to have them finish our basement. And we drew out the plans as to where we wanted doorways and how we wanted it divided up. Yeah. We now have 2 doors that go into the same room because they couldn't figure out that it was supposed to be only one door in the original plan. Now, having said that, that actually was a serendipitous kind of situation because that's worked out pretty good, having the 2 doors. But at the time, we didn't think it was.
And then they were supposed to have a door to the outside, and we moved the door from what the original design was to have the door to the outside. Well, the door ended up being in 3 different places because they moved it to one end, then they moved it to another end, and they finally, the third time, they moved it to where we actually wanted it.
Okay, Jetty. Have a good day at work, and we'll see you again soon. and have a great Christmas. Getty has to leave.
So it was a real. It was more the basement. The first time
Yeah.
that we went down, they had the basement
I don't know.
finished, but it was the wrong finish. It was completely different than what we were supposed
And
to
it
have.
wasn't logical what they had done. It was like a labyrinth. So
Right, and it was because they had a plan from somebody else's house, and
yeah, and they can't read. Anyways, it was still much better built, and at the time, this was a much more expensive house than our first house. Well, it was 8 years later for one thing, but we managed to make some money on the other house sale, and so we were able to put down a sizable amount on this house, and today we are mortgage free and have been for quite a while now,
yeah.
which was an advantage. But anyways, so back to these guys. So a couple of weeks later, after we'd already come up, looked at these houses, they didn't know that at the time, and we settled on one, and we actually bought it. And ours wasn't up for sale yet. At that point, we were at their place for drinks or something, and they said, "So," and they're giggling to themselves because that's the kind of people they were. Gays. They can be mean. They turn around and go, "So, did you ever get around looking at those houses in North Oshawa?" And what they were expecting us to say was, no, we're not interested. We'll just stay where we are and that. And they knew about the problems we were having with our other house. And we said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, we did." "Oh, what did you think?" "We bought one." "What do you mean you bought one?" I said, "We bought one." "Well, you've put a conditional on it." I said, "No. This is the difference between you boys and us. We firmed it." "Well, you haven't sold your place yet." "No." And then I was being a little facetious at this point, but they deserved it. I says, "We will, but it doesn't matter. We can, well, you'd have two houses and two mortgages." I says, "We can afford that." Well, we couldn't.
Well, technically we could have, but
Well, yeah, we've eaten Kraft dinner forever.
yeah.
But at the time, yeah, it kind of shut them up. I think that was the end of our friendship, actually.
Mm.
I think about it now. No, they came. No, the end of our friendship was when we went on that trip to Provincetown with them, and that's a story for another day. But anyway, so yeah, it's how we ended up in the place we're in now, 25 years later. And although it's still Oshawa, and not Whitby, although Whitby's changed. Whitby's full of snotty people now. Well, maybe it always was. I just didn't realize it when you're one of those snotty people. You don't really notice that. And now we live in Poshawa. Poshawa. Apparently, where the coyotes run wild in our backyard. But anyways, Nairee's here. Hi, Nairee. So, anyways, that's the story of how we, in our first house in 30, and so we were 4 years into a relationship when we bought that house. So we were then 12 years into our relationship when we moved in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How time flies. And it's always been blissful. Yeah, no. Well, okay.
Well,
This
no,
way.
we had our fights, but
We-
I mean, we most of the time we got along okay.
The
so.
worst fights we ever had was in probably the first year in the first house. And the
Yeah.
reason they were that is because there was so much going on at that point in time.
I mean, the house had a lot of problems to it. We had just moved in together.
And we had to get used to living 24/7 with each other.
Yeah.
Which it's a little different when for 4 years you're only living together on weekends. And although you see each other a lot in the whole bit, suddenly when you move in with somebody else, it's like, okay, now you're going to see all their little quirks. And, you got to get used to that. Plus, we were at that point in our lives where it was coming time for us to finally come out. Because when we bought the first house, we were telling people, we were 30 years old. And, two 30-year-old single guys buying a house together. It was the 80s. Do you think they might be, let's go and burn a cross on their front doorstep kind of a situation?
And I don't know, I had a problem in my old house. Like when you started moving in, moved in for a couple of weeks, or not a couple of weeks, for when we were living on weekends together and stuff like that. We had some neighbors that were a little bit homophobic, and I went out one day and my house was egged.
And there was another time when your house was shit.
Yeah, and then
They'd
there was
thrown dog crap against the side of his house.
yeah, and then there was when we had the house in Whitby, the original first house.
Mm.
Remember we had water balloons against the house,
Oh yeah,
and
that's
somebody had
right.
egged it too.
Yeah, that's right. We got egg there too. Thing was, they didn't know that we were gay. Well, I mean, we
No,
didn't
but we
go
had
out.
two guys living together in a house.
Yeah, so that was the '80s. So it was nothing like the gay '90s. But yeah, that was the '80s. So the other problems we had too was we were coming to that point in our lives where you're not children anymore. You're starting into your 30s. Yeah, it's time to put away childish things. I mean, in our 20s, we could be really like, ha ha, fun, and we were pricks, too. I mean, we'd go out with some of our friends, not necessarily gay friends. We had a lot of straight friends. They were teachers, but they were people that I knew. They were our age group, and we were obnoxious as hell. There's nothing more obnoxious than a 20-something.
Anyway, yeah. So
Anyways, plus we hadn't come out to our families, and so we had told people, we bought the house together because it's a really good investment. Because if we get
some people actually believed that.
yeah, I know. If we get married and everything, we've got like a nice little nest egg because we'll sell the house and blah 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 blah. Yeah, it just got to the point where we were living these lies, and you can only live lies for so long. So it was time to come out, and so we did. But that's a stressful thing. And
well, not only that, I mean, there was still a lot of discrimination going on then, so
Hi,
you
Dana.
didn't really know how people would react.
yeah, well, those were the days I could still have been fired from my job, no questions asked, basically. And we were still like, we'd go to a grocery store, and we'd have one card, and we felt that we were conspicuous.
Yeah, like you always felt like people were looking at you.
Yeah,
Actually, and there were times where that
People
actually
did.
People
they did.
and occasionally it still happens today.
Yeah, you still get it on a rare occasion.
But then last night was kind of interesting because
Yeah.
the woman waiting on us on the restaurant said, "Are you here for a special occasion?"
And I said, yes, it's our anniversary. Oh, she goes, happy anniversary. We didn't get a cake, though.
No, but it was
Maybe they
still.
only give that on birthdays, maybe not on anniversaries. I don't know. Thanks, Nairi. But anyways, yeah, there were tense moments, all of that. And then when we moved into this house in '95, there was a lot less tense moments. Well, by then we'd worked all that crap out. I mean, by then I'd gotten used to his quirks. And I guess I am still used to your quirks now. I don't know. Not that I have any, because I'm absolutely, positively perfect in every way. Just like Mary Poppins. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
Mm.
Well, it's fun.
Well, no, that's
Oh,
good
that's
at
good.
the moment, yeah. So, anyways, what, no cake, Dana says? No,
No.
nothing. We went to the Keg. Now, for those of you that are Canadian, you probably know what the Keg is. It's a steakhouse.
It's
And
a
there's-
chain steak.
It's a chain steakhouse, but it's always consistently good. And they just built a new one in Oshawa. They tore down the old one, put a new one up, very modern. It was busy as heck last night, but we knew it was going to be.
We walked in there and they said it'll be an hour and a half to
To
2
2 hours for a table. So we went into the bar. That was okay because it was an event.
And they don't take reservations. So
And we knew it was going to be that long, and we weren't in any rush, so that was fine.
actually, we did get seated just over an hour.
Yeah, it was about 65 minutes, 70 minutes it took to get a seat, but that's okay.
Well, we also were specific as to what kind of table we wanted.
Yeah, we're picky. We wanted a booth. We didn't want a
We
table.
don't like to sit really close to other people because we want people to hear our conversation.
Well, our gayness might rub off and they'll accuse us for making them gay, so we don't want to sit too close to them. Whatever. But when the waitress came over and she asked about the special occasion, and I said, yes, it's our anniversary. She didn't bat an eye. Now, if that had been back in the 80s, whoa, they probably would have kicked us out of the bloody restaurant.
Actually, we were in restaurants where
Hmm.
when two guys walked in, they seated you in a crappy place.
Oh, yeah, they'd seat us in crappy places in those days, yeah.
Even when you had a reservation. Remember, we went to
Mhm.
my birthday one time to a restaurant that's no longer in Oshawa, Fazio's.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a reservation and he said he wanted a window seat. And they stuck us in the back corner.
Yeah. In fact, on the reservation, I had asked for a window seat, and I'd made the reservation a week, 2 weeks before, and they said no problem. And when we got there, suddenly there was a problem. So yeah, we've experienced the discrimination even in our country, in Canada. But of course, today,
Today they would never have done that.
well, the other thing was I was too afraid to say anything. If that happened to me today, oh wow, they would be seating me in the best table in the house within the first 5 minutes. I can tell you that. But that was the way it was in those days. So that adds a lot of tension in a relationship, and it probably took, well, it probably took 10 years before we got where we are today.
Yeah, like I'll correct people
Well,
if they make a mistake.
Yeah, but I meant in our own
Oh, no,
relationship about the comfort level. I mean, we kind of laugh, and we shouldn't. But there's people who, gay guys, they go out, they meet this guy, it's all heart and flowers, honeymoon like, bang, bang, bang. Then they move in together the whole bit. And then they separate within, a year or 2 years. And we are somewhat of a phenomenon. We know that. When we tell people, when they ask, well, how long have you been together? And we say 36 years, their draws drop. However, we do know other couples that have been together for pretty much as many years as us, and in some cases, longer.
Michael and Jock have been together longer.
Yeah. And Bill and Mark,
Yeah.
they've been together as long as we've been together,
Mm-hmm.
maybe slightly longer than that. And so, it does work. Not for lesbians. They're usually out the door within 5 years. But that's a totally different thing, and I'm not even going to speak about them because we don't understand them at all. Sorry about that. That sounds kind of discriminatory and, the whole bit. But yeah, really, I'm just being truthful. Anyways, so
Were we gonna do it?
yeah, we are. I was just moving up to that. I have a sequence here
Oh, okay, fine.
of things. I have my notes. Yeah, we're done my notes. So, yeah, so that's 36 years of bliss. I don't know, what's the best thing about being in our relationship? I don't know, what is it? I don't know.
We can buy toys. No,
Would you ever leave me?
probably not.
Good answer. Would I ever leave you? No, you're my cash cow. Why would No.
No, we travel too well together.
What's the secret to a long relationship? Well, I can tell you this. Give and take. You have to, pick the mountain you want to die on. And I mean, there have been so many mountains that I've just not bothered to climb in this one. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying sometimes you have to decide what's really important to you. Is it really that important that you get your way? And I know too many gay guys in relationships that, yes, it is important that they get their way. And I think that makes a lot of problems. And the other thing is you can always train your other half.
Yeah. That means I'm supposed to pour wine in his glass.
No, I've got enough in there. And he does. Anyways, I joke. Okay, so time for the tour. Now, we're going to show you our Christmas decorations. Don't get excited. It's not a Christopher Allen or any of those other designer people out there kind of thing. And I already showed some of these on my vlog, so that's okay. But we're just going to give you a little tour of the house that we've been in now for, come this March, it'll be 25 years. And, yeah, so you can see the environment that two gay men live in. Some things I will warn you about. One, you will not see any dirty pictures on the wall. Did we take them all down before we did this? No, we don't have any. And I hate walking into gay guys' houses that do have art that looks like that. And we know many gay guys that do that. That's not our style. Two, our house is not designer. it's comfortable. Our decorating ideas are basically comfortable, whatever. And most of them are Walter's decisions.
No, they aren't.
And he will pick out the ones that aren't his decisions because he'll criticize those ones, and that means they're mine. So, but like I said, pick the mountain. So, okay, how are we going to do this? Okay, we're going to pick up the camera and see what happens. You better carry that with you. And I'm going to have to switch the view around. And can I do that? Yes, I can. Okay. So here you go. This is the fireplace that I mentioned. And I hope I still have everybody here. I can't see any comments. Walter will have to walk around behind me with it. Okay, so this is the room. We were sitting over here. This is the room that, let's see, how many years did we live here before we actually got this room this way?
Well, the room was finished, but we had old furniture in here.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the fireplace.
No. Walter wanted a fireplace down here. He insisted that that was the one thing he had to have. Well, if you look at this wall, that is a fake wall. Because in order, over where Walter's standing right now,
Yeah,
there's
the
an
original
indent.
wall is over here.
Stand over that way a little bit. I'm trying to keep this steady. Should have used the gimbal. Just a second here. Let's see if I can do this better. Okay, sorry if I'm making you sick. Okay, see that indent in the wall? That's where this one comes out because it had to be built out in order to have an inset fireplace over here. And then this whole wall is this color as opposed to the other color is because Walter wanted it to be an accent wall. And you'll notice there is nothing on either side. Usually where that wreath is sitting, there's a picture that sits there. I wanted sconces or something on these sides over here. He wouldn't let me do that. He said, no, it had to be an accent wall. It had to be that way. Whatever. But I did win out on the whole idea that I wanted a sectional down here. And we, well, it's not custom built, but we picked the pieces because we have this post right here in the middle of our rec room, which in hindsight, we did ask them about an I-beam across here because we didn't want this room divided up. We wanted it all to be very open without a post in the middle. And they told us, oh no, they couldn't do that. Well, you want to know something? If that was today, I would have said, you want to sell the house or not? Because they could have done it. Yeah, it would have cost us some money, but in the long run, it would have been good. But instead, basically this room gets divided in two because we put the furniture around where that post is. Now over in this alcove corner here, this is where a lot of people actually have their door, their walkout basement in the design.
No, actually, the walkout basement was over that way. They didn't have it in the middle there.
I thought they had it out.
No, it was over underneath where the hot tub is.
Oh. What, over in your
In the
workshop?
corner, below where the kitchen one is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, over in the far side,
Yeah,
which
very
is
few
we have a
people
wall
in it.
there.
Yeah.
Anyways, actually that was one too. They put it in 3 different places before they got in the spot where we
It's a
wanted it.
support beam, yes.
Yeah, it's a support beam.
Support beam.
Yep, on the top. But it kind of chops up the room. So over here, we have this alcove. Now, when we moved into this house and way before we ever decided to get the rec room put in here, I'd always said when we finished this room off, I wanted a bar. But you see, it was 1995. That was really cool to have a bar in your rec room. Well, I'm glad we didn't do that. But we needed something in this. So we have this bistro table. And we don't really use the bistro table that much for anything. But it fills in the space. And if we do have company over and if we do have sort of a smorgasbord or buffet style sort of dinner, if we're down here, then there is a leaf that goes in that table, pulls out, we move the chairs out of the way, and it becomes a serving area. So right now it's serving our Christmas tree. And there's a lot of extra chairs buried in behind there because those goes with my mother's dining room table, which is over here. And this is my mother's dining room table. It's one of those ones that collapse right up. The leaves are all underneath the couch, actually, but we can pull that out. But right now, that's where it stands. And of course, my quilt rack, and I think you've seen that before. And out here, and I think we have videoed out here. Put the lights on. It's not easy to see, but we back onto a forest and getting a glare. But this is where our hot tub is. You can't really tell because the lighting's not so good. But our backyard is a forest, so that's okay. And yeah, that's our big honking TV. Another thing Walter had to have, well, I'm not disagreeing with it, it's a plasma. Yeah, plasma is old technology now, but it's still a really great TV set. And that's what, 65 inch?
Yeah, it is.
Now, some artwork. You've seen these before, I'm sure. These are Walter's lamps, his stained glass. He built those, and there's a matching one over there on the far side.
And then there's my fused glass.
Oh, yes, your fused glass.
Uh,
That dish, and there's another one over on the other side over there as well. So there's lots of Walter's stuff in here. Now, you know how I was telling you about the two doors? There's the two doors. They go into the same room. Well, actually, right now, the room's sort of divided in half. One half is Walter's workshop. That's where the door is closed because it's a mess. And, of course, my sewing room is in there. And you don't need to see it. You've seen it before. We did put in a washroom down here, a full washroom with a tub and a shower and everything. And our laundry room's in that dark hole in there. And then when you come into this part, and this is the part that was finished by the builder when we moved in, and then we added the counters and everything, and you've seen this before because we've done art attacks in here. And this is my craft room. And I am seriously considering gutting it at one point.
my stained glass are on all the windows.
Yeah, all the windows. You can see that window there, that window there. Those are Walter stained glass. It's dark outside, so they're not showing through, but those are all Walter's stained glass on there. And so, yeah, this is my craft room, but as I said, I'm seriously considering gutting it at some point and making it into more of a sewing room, whatever. But I really have to sit down and draw up plans for that, and it's going to cost a lot of money to do it because when I say gut it, I mean gut it. These counters would probably go, they've been here for 25 years. We put those in when we first moved in here. IKEA drawers, yeah, those drawers.
That was before they came out with modular desk. We got IKEA filing cabinets and bought some countertop and put it on top of.
Yeah. And of course you can see on the walls and the doors, lots of my art work, such as it is, everywhere in here. But yeah, people come here and they see my craft room and they gasp. I gasp too because I know how much crap is in there. So we go upstairs. Now we live in a raised bungalow.
Yeah, the house actually, the dimension is 40 feet by 40.
It's dark in here.
So it's 1,600 square feet upstairs, 1,600 square feet downstairs.
This is our mud room. We here.
Yeah. Okay, now I see the dining room.
Oh,
So we must be back.
oh, are we back?
Yeah.
Oh,
Must
yeah.
have lost the signal partway through.
Oops, all I got is spinning. I'll catch the rest of your tour tomorrow. That's Virginia. Okay. I think we are back.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us know, people that are still
Yeah,
connected.
everybody's saying I'm back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We lost it in the vestibule or whatever.
Okay, so I'm just trying to turn on. How come this light's not going on?
Because that one's broken. We have to actually
Oh,
fix it.
okay, great. Okay, so anyways, I turn on more light in this room, but the problem is there isn't any. This is the fireplace that came with the house. Well, I think we paid for it. What are you doing? Oh, there you got it. Okay, more light. Can you put it up to... That's better. So, fireplace here, or as we called it, the kitty's fireplace. And the 90s called and they want this room back because look at our furniture. Now, at the time, and this is where Walter will tell you he did not have any say in this and it was all me.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was looking for furniture in this room because we hardly ever use this room. This is our dining room, formal living room. And in the 90s, this was really posh. This was like, now it looks like old lady stuff. It's good furniture. I paid a lot of money for this. And, but yeah, so this is one of the rooms that we keep saying we need to redecorate. The dining room part of it, this dining room suite, that china cabinet, this chair and table, that radio, that buffet. Those were my grandparents, and right now they're probably about 100 years old. And I refinished them when I was in my apartment one summer. Never refinished wood before. Yeah, every piece came out different, but I just can't get rid of it. It's just too, it's connected to my family kind of a thing. Now, you'll notice here's a blast from the past. Those curtains, balloons. Walter made those way back when we first moved into the house. This is all that's left. We haven't changed any of them. Oh, Andy says, hey, I've got old lady furniture. My sofa is navy red and gold paisley. Still love it. I still like this, but I'd like to go more contemporary. I like more modern look. Anyways, speaking of modern, these curtains are not. But the only reason that we still have them up there is because the room would look naked without them. I mean, we replaced all the window dressings with blinds in here about a year or two ago.
Oh, we're spinning. Okay, no, okay.
Are you okay? I'm not spinning. Are you
Okay,
spinning?
no, we're back again. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, now over here on the buffet, though, is what people call my Christmas village. It is not a Christmas village, although there are pieces that look like Christmas. This sits up all year round. It gets to look really like Christmas. I know when I need to dust it, because when it looks like there's snow, that isn't snow. My mother gave me my first piece for Christmas or my birthday one year, many, many years ago, and I started to collect them. They're Department 56, if you know what that is. At the time, sorry about the camera tilting like that. This tripod isn't the best, and I'm trying to keep it steady. But I collected more pieces. But every place we travel in the world, we always try to get a miniature representation of that area. So if you look closely here, you will see like Mykonos, and you will see Turkey, and you will see New York, and you will see Paris, and you will see Spain, and you will see Rome, and Venice. Egypt, and Ireland, and which?
Venice.
And Venice.
Rome. And
Rome, and Hong Kong, and Las Vegas, especially Las Vegas. And I just love that little sign. I had to have it. Yeah, intermixed with the Christmas tree and the whole bit. So we add to it everywhere we go. And I can tell you this, it's a bitch when you have to really get in there and dust it. Right now it's not too bad, but it'll go. So, yep, that comes up every year, and I have it on a timer, and it lights up. There's a couple of other extraneous pieces over on this old radio, which was my grandparents' radio. It doesn't work anymore. Well, it might. I'd just be afraid to plug it in and start a fire with it. Was it Kathy says, I have my mother's Department 56 houses up in the attic. I've never put them out, although I love them. It's Luna Park, Nairi. And for those of you who don't know what Luna Park is in Sydney. It's like a Coney Island in the States. It's an amusement park. And yes, we've been there. Okay, so this is the room where we usually are doing our broadcast from. It's our kitchen family room. This is the part you don't see when we're doing the broadcast. What you see is here. This is our fridge. This is our kitchen. And one of the things that really sold me on the house 25 years ago was this concept. It was an open concept. And I really like it. And besides the rec room, this is probably the room we're in the most because we eat in here. Our wine fridge is in here. We have a TV set in here. And we just, how many years ago did we redo this? 3, 4?
About 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago, we redid this room. And we had other furniture in here. And we went more contemporary. We used to have like a curtain. Actually, for quite a few years, we had an attractive curtain rod because we couldn't find any window dressings we liked, and we had a different blind. And then we decided, get rid of the rod and just go with the blind. That looks out on our deck at the back of the house, and those doors go out onto our deck back there. And we have a fairly large-sized deck. So this is where we spend a lot of our time, actually. We've got a few of the decorations here.
There,
Your Tiffany. Walter's Tiffany lamp that took him about 2 years to make.
A year.
Was it a year? It just seemed like 2. Anyways, he did all of that, and there's what, 400 and some odd pieces
Yeah.
of glass. Don't turn it off yet. Turn it on. Just right there. That's good. Just get a closer look. Yeah, it's one of the pieces I really like in here, but I like Tiffany. And yes, it is a very pretty lamp. And yeah, so, and some of you've commented before about why is the color changing on our videos when we sit in here. This is why. We have hue lights. They're called hue lights in these lamps, and they change color on the setting that I have. You control them from your cell phone. Anita says beautiful.
Used to them. So.
Yeah, Anita says beautiful work, Walter. My chair. It's a lazy boy. And Dana says she loves your Tiffany as well. So that's basically that. Now down here, oops, wrong light. Hallway to the bed. The house has 3 bedrooms, and there is a guest bathroom in here.
Uh-oh.
What? Did we lose them
No,
again?
we're okay, yeah.
Okay. This room is the guest bedroom, but right now this bed has all my quilts. Well, not all my quilts. There's the quilts downstairs, and there's a pile of quilts on the bed up here as well. So that's why you see all this laid out. I gotta start giving quilts away. Now, Walter didn't want you to see this. This is his room. This is
My
his.
disaster room.
This is, and it always looks like this, except on the days when the cleaning lady comes and cleans everything up. This is his sewing room, but yeah, okay. You know, I was talking about those mountains that, you know, you don't make a mountain out of. I learned a long time ago that don't worry about it. You can always close the door. And this is the master bedroom. And Walter just repainted this room, and we got new blinds in here. We're all about blinds. Because mainly all the window dressings you see are god awful. They look like funeral home stuff. So that's that was my show quilt that I didn't win. Everyone has a room like that. I have 2 of them at the moment. And this was this is one of my earlier quilts. And the other day I tried to swap out the quilt for another quilt, and I didn't like the look of it. Well, this quilt is just big enough for a queen size bed. I have another quilt that I showed on my vlog a few weeks ago that I finished the top for, but I have to quilt it in the new year. And when I do, I think I'm going to put it on this bed because I think it'll be big enough to go on it. And believe me, this bed used to be a water bed. Yes. And until we got Kitty, first night with Kitty, thought, did I have a problem in the night? No, little Kitty had little claws, and she kind of punctured the mattress on the waterbed, so it was oozing water. So Walter had to patch it up, and of course it takes about 24 hours for those patches to set, so we slept in the guest bedroom. Kitty slept with us. Oh, she was so cute. She was there on the pillow between the 2 of us. She was such a baby in the whole bed. And then the next night, when everything had cured, we got back in the bed, and guess what? Kitty did it again. So I was getting a little tired of the waterbed concept anyways, so we converted this into a regular bed. The one advantage of a waterbed, though, was that in the wintertime, it was always warm. There's the baby there. That was our Precious. Walter doesn't like this picture of her, but I have it there. Am I on?
Okay, we're okay.
Okay, sorry, people. Must be our Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if I'm on Bland or Bland 2. Anyways, that's essentially what our abode looks like. Yeah, Andy, you should pick up in a second here. It should be okay. So, I think let's go back downstairs because I think we're getting pretty much to our time now too. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, that's our house. As you can see, it's not overly decorated for Christmas because I don't. Thank you, Anita. And you're welcome, Kathy. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you guys like it. It's comfortable. I mean, we don't do over-the-top decorating or anything like that, and I'm just going to put you guys down here. Hopefully I won't lose you, and I'm going to switch the camera over. And There we are. And we're back. So at least, except for the buffering, we got through all of that okay. And yeah, well, we thought we'd do it because we've never really done that before. I think I've shown you bits and pieces, but it's home and we like it. So, and I can't think of anything else. So, what's coming up?
Christmas.
Christmas. Bah humbug. We have Walter's family. Oh, wait a second. See, I told you it works. You look like a drunken elf.
I look.
That help.
Actually, I had Pippi Longstocking.
Oh, you had the Pippi Longstick? You didn't put those out?
No, I didn't put them out.
Put out your Peppy Longstockings. There you go. That's another thing I was going to say. You have to have a sense of humor in a relationship. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, so we've got, as I said, we're going to my sister's on Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day we're having Walter's family here. And you saw the stairs that we're going up and down, and I think I mentioned the fact that when we've had people here on Christmas Day before, I usually set up a dining room table down here, my mother's dining room table, and that. But the problem with that is I have to go up and downstairs, bring down everything, and that's when you really feel your age. Because the next day I'm as sore as hell, up and down. For a place that's supposed to be a bungalow, we still didn't get rid of stairs. We bought a raised bungalow. Okay, should have thought about that. But no, I figured out how I can get everybody upstairs around the dining room table that I showed you, and it will be smorgasbord style, and I don't have to go up and down stairs 1,000 times, so that'll make life a little easier. So, anyways, I think that brings us to our time, and thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the tour of the house and things like that, and we will be on next week. That'll just be before New Year's Eve. We don't have any exciting plans for New Year's Eve except to stay home. Possibly have lobster tails if we can find any. And I hope everybody has a really nice Christmas and everything. And we'll see you next week. So my vlog will be up tomorrow. And have a good one. So thanks for joining us.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody. And a Happy New Year. Well, we'll say that next week. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.